Hey guys, Troy here, back with another video today. Today I'm going to be talking about Marvel cards, Pokemon cards, Nascar, tennis, all these other type of more traditionally at least alternative cards, and why I personally will not be buying those type of cards. I think I'm gonna have to introduce a new segment on the channel called Angry Comment of the Day, because I can already hear the ones on this one. Hey man, you're all wrong. I beat up some kids and took their Happy Meals and flipped the Pikachus for $4,000. Now I have no doubt that plenty of people have made money with Marvel cards, Pokemon cards, alternative cards. Not only that, but that they will continue to make money in the future. I want to make it very, very clear. I am not saying any of these markets will go down. That is not the point of this video. But not just for the sake of talking about me, not telling you not to, but sharing the reasoning with some of you guys who are thinking about getting into some of these other things of why I am not going to be doing that. So the first reason is because I feel like right now it's too late. You're chasing. Let's take, for instance, Marvel cards. And I apologize again, this is nothing against any particular type of card. I'm just trying to use examples. And let me just say, this was really tough. This will go kind of into the education point, which is later, but I didn't even know what to search. Like, what's the best Marvel card? What can I use as an example? So I'm by no means an expert, but I just found one, the 1990 Thanos Marvel Universe card in a PSA 10, and it seemed good enough for comparison's sake. So in about November of last year, this card was selling for somewhere around $200. And most recently, in a PSA 10, this card sold for around $1,300. 7x multiple from just a couple months ago. And I'm sure any of you guys who have followed these markets and probably know way more than me, it's a similar story with Usain Bolt cards or certain Pokemon cards. I'm sure there's been the ups and downs, but there's been an insane rise in NASCAR cards. People are buying Sports Illustrated for Kids cards. The multipliers and how much these have gone up in the past, I'd say 2 months, is pretty insane. So in general, there's nothing at all wrong with looking for undervalued markets or undervalued cards to get into. I think that's great and you can make a lot of money. But in general, if something has already gone up 7x, you can still make money 100%. That's not to say it won't go up more, but I think you have to have a very good reason in your mind why you believe this market will still continue to go up if you're getting in after something has 7, 8, maybe even 10x in 2 months. For instance, just off the top of my head, this is a little different because it's still in the basketball world, but I was talking to a subscriber and he shared with me Nikola Jokic has rookie stickers from when he was in Serbia before he was even in the NBA, and they're only like maybe $15, $20 each. That's a potential undervalued play. And I'm not saying that those are gonna boom, but if those went up 7x, I wouldn't then be rushing in to buy those. At that point, I would feel, in general, it's kind of too late. So I touched on it a little bit with the first one, but the second reason is because I do not understand the intricacies of these different markets. I'm sure there's a good amount of people here, including myself, who got more into this sports card investing world in the last 2 years. When I look back at what I knew, or more so even what I didn't know when I first got into the game, it's insane. I learned from my failures, my mistakes, doing hours and hours of research, watching YouTube, talking to people, going to card shows. That was a whole journey. And even now, my knowledge is just, a fraction of hopefully what it could be one day. But it was a lot of time, a lot of work to get me to where I am now and feeling like I at least have a little bit of a grasp on the market. And that's the other thing. If I'm in this to make money, like if you enjoy Marvel cards, let me just be clear, go and buy them, go have fun. But I think a lot of people, I'd even go as far to say 95% of people who are getting into these alternative cards, they do not care about this or that. It doesn't hold sentimental value. So if you're getting into something purely for the money, you better be pretty confident that you will turn that profit, or what you're doing and this is going to be a beneficial thing for you to do. I think a lot of us have maybe even gotten too confident in our card investing abilities because of what's been happening in the market over these past 2 years. If anything, I'll be honest, I feel like it's kind of hard to have in total lost money in the last year at least if you're doing things the right way. But in general, to consistently invest and make money, for me, I think you need to have that knowledge of the market, know the history, know the intricacies, know what people value what. And for me, I don't have that for Marvel cards or Sports Illustrated for kids cards or even Pokemon, which is something I grew up playing with. So I'm not gonna dive into that unless I have that knowledge or, the time to do those hours and hours of research. And right now in my life, that's not something I want to do, to be quite honest. With basketball and soccer cards, I started off very small with my investments, like literally $20 cards. I think that's how most people started. And as I learned, I slowly felt more and more comfortable investing more money. And like I said, that's a long process. I don't want to repeat that in these other type of cards. The third reason might be a little bit more controversial. I think the first two, most reasonable people would be like, yeah, fair enough, makes sense to me. But the third one is, some people might disagree with me, so feel free to leave that in the comments, respectfully, of course. But I think a lot of the hype and a lot of the prices that we're seeing in these alternative areas is fueled purely by speculators, flippers, these type of people. But before, easy. I'm not saying that doesn't happen in basketball or soccer or regular sports cards, but from what I've been seeing, just in hearing people talk, I think it's a larger percentage right now in these other areas. Once again, that's just an opinion. I'm not gonna die on that hill, but that's just my sense of the market right now. To just give you an example, Kobe Bryant autos. Sure, I'm sure a ton of that is flippers and investors getting in on it, fractional ownership companies moving it up. But I do think a good amount of that is just people are fans of Kobe. They're collectors and they want Kobe Bryant autos. And I think for a healthy card market, you need that. You need the collectors to be a big part of what's moving things. And for like a Kobe Bryant, that's what I think at least a good portion of it is. But how many people getting into NASCAR Prism sealed wax right now are just huge fans of NASCAR? Maybe there are genuinely some people who are like, oh, I never knew about this. I was in basketball cards, but I love NASCAR so much, I can't wait to collect NASCAR cards. Sure, they may be out there, but once again, my guess would be that's not what's driving up the prices right now. So that's why I'm worried. Once again, just an opinion that you could see a sharp pullback at some point. And the last and final reason is because I don't want to spread myself too thin. And part of that goes into the research, right? My time. I'm not the most important guy in the world. I have some time on my hands, but I don't feel I have enough time to adequately research and keep up with the market and be buying and selling across 10 different markets. I feel like it's tough enough right now just for me to keep up between basketball and soccer. Not to mention the fact of capital. I would assume almost everyone here, we don't have unlimited capital at all. It's hard enough for me to make sure everything is lined up if I see a deal come along in the markets I'm currently in. And if you really wanna, properly invest in these other markets, especially with how prices are right now, you need to go into it with at least a little bit amount of money to make it worth your while. Let's just, for the sake of the argument here, let's say you have $100,000 in your sports card portfolio. Sure, you could play around with 1,000 in the Marvel card market, but from a purely financial perspective, I'm not sure that's where your time is going to be best used. Once again, considering all the research and stuff you have to do to even get started with that $1,000. So I guess to wrap it up, just be careful, guys. Especially if it's for collecting's sake, go have fun. Collect whatever you want to do. But I do see and hear about people getting into these different markets purely for the sake of investing, making money. I would just warn you to be careful. I said it at the beginning, but I already know there's still gonna be comments, but just to be clear, I'm not calling for the downfall of something like Pokemon. I mean, that's one of the biggest IPs in the world. I would not be surprised at all to see that go up and up and up. Some of this other stuff, not so sure, but who knows? What I'm just trying to warn you is don't spread yourself too thin with all these different things. And no matter what you get into, make sure you do your research first before you're really diving in, and also don't chase. Just be careful. At the end of the day, if you hear all this and you still decide, hey, no, I believe in this market because of XYZ, by all means, go for it. But I just wanted to share with you guys why I'm personally not getting in, and probably why in the future I won't talk too much about these different type of cards on the channel. But all right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. We're gonna keep the videos coming. Thanks again.